Hello. I'm just being insane here. My name's Livia. I'm holding a fire. I'm gonna have to do it. I know people are gonna get annoyed that I blew into it, but it's okay. I promise. It's fine. I'm just gonna. There's just some smudge materials in here. I accidentally got wax on them, so they were burning crazy. Anyway, I'm gonna light a little bit of dragon's blood incense just to go with it. Sounds nice. I think some sprigs caught on fire in there and they smell a little crazy. But yeah, my name's Livia. I decided to start the video just because I was getting anxious about how to start it, and I didn't want to do that. There, for people who don't want me to blow on it. Okay, I'm just going to set this aside now. It's actually very nice. I quit smoking recently, and just having a little ambiance is it's a little therapeutic, honestly. Have it not be for the old reasons. Okay. I just ran some errands, and I've been kind of thinking about what I wanted to focus on in this video and what the message is going to be. And there's just too much on my brain. There's a lot going on. I have a couple points that I will be speaking on at some point through this medium, but for right now, for this purpose, I kind of just want to see what the cards say, what's going on, what my guides are telling us, what your guides are telling you, what's happening in the ethereal, what's happening in the internal, what is this existence telling us, the broader us. Sorry. I really like this stuff. It's like a mushroom soda. But yeah, feel free to grab a drink, hang out with me. I'm still trying to decide which decks I want to use. To be completely honest, I have this. I was playing cards with some friends, and I used to play a card game 31 when I was younger, so 31 could be significant. I was also getting the color yellow could also be significant at this time. Cooking meals with people, cooking for people could be significant. I don't know if you can hear them, but my roommates are basically through this window. There's like a little open space in the kitchen window. So if you hear talking, it's probably my roommates. They're really nice. But yeah, I mixed two of my favorite tarot decks with a Lenormand card deck that is playing cards, and was teaching people how to use tarot as playing cards, which is the opposite of what I usually do with them, but that's okay. Playing cards could be significant, but I'm not going to use those right now just because, like, this is a lot to shuffle, and the card sizes vary, so we're not going to mess with that. But I'll bring out those cards another time. We got. Oh my gosh. so funny. Okay, well, Spirit's saying that we should use this one. It's Animal Spirit deck. I'm really picky about Animal Spirit just because I basically grew up in the woods. So I've always been listening to the animals and paying attention to the lessons that nature can teach us. I have some native Alaskan heritage, so it was really important to my family for me to learn how to listen to nature and learn lessons that way. You could also resonate with that, but you don't have to. Just kind of yapping and rambling. But yeah, we'll be using this. I keep looking at this one. It's a deck I just got. I have only used it once, just like for funsies. I'm a trans woman, if you couldn't tell. Not that clockiness is super important, but you know what I mean? If you do. If you don't, then that was not for you. Who cares? But I'm going to be using this deck. It's a queer drag queen deck. It's by Steve Fox and Vander Von Odd. It's illustrated by Cheyenne Gallard. Yeah. The art is kooky and fun, and all the terms are relevant to drag, queerness, and ballroom culture, and I just love that. So we'll be getting into this maybe at the middle, or I might even close it out at the end just because it's like a fun closer. But for right now, let's see if I can find my energy cards. You know, maybe I did start this a little prematurely, but part of it is you're hanging out with me, I'm hanging out with you. So if you've already checked out, I guess I'm not talking to you anymore. These are a Sacred Geometry deck. Yeah. Basically, each card represents an energy, an aspect of source, or human experience. And the card itself, the picture, depicts a visual representation of that energy. And it has the 7 chakras in the deck as well. Each chakra has its own card. But there's also the mixtures of each energy. And I really love that they single out like each color, and then they start doing, well, this energy, like, okay, that's not a good example, but this energy, okay, so like we have the crown chakra, but then with alchemy, you can tell that there's sacral root, some heart mixed in there. So that's pretty satisfying, honestly. And you can see here, it's like the energies are being mixed. There's transmutation, and it says that it's supposed to be a reminder of the magic that lies dormant or lies within each one of us. Which kind of brings me to a point. Okay, I guess we're getting into it. So, if you are a consumer of tarot or spirituality content, you've undoubtedly come across the Chosen One things. And I just think it's kind of interesting. I know that there's like the dilemma of it like being egoic fuel to think that you're the chosen one or whatever. And like a lot of it for me, the connotation stems from religious trauma and growing up religious. So the whole chosen one thing, in the surface level sense that like there's like a few chosen or something, it just feels a little out of touch. I think we're all chosen, and we all, not I think, like we are all chosen. We're here, we exist. And what we do with that role, what we do with that is part of our free will. But at the same time, it's like we all have our destiny. We all have been chosen for things. And it also brings me to an interesting song lyric. The song is called Jealousy is Lethal, I think, by Pixel Grip. And I love Pixel Grip, they're fun. But the song specifically, the lyric that I'm thinking of is, and if I'm the one that you choose to hunt, wouldn't that mean that I'm the chosen one? And that's been kind of on my mind just with happenings in the US politics. I am in the States, and it's just interesting the way that things are playing out and how the exact people who are being targeted are the exact people who are the biggest threats to what's been going on, because we're the people who see it for what it is. We're the people who have been trying to avoid what's going on for a long time, before I was even born. The trans community, and then also just immigrants or people who are really getting backlash from this right now, are the people who have the most insight. They've been paying attention. And knowledge is power, so of course they want people to hate us. That's fine. Speaking of, transition card. Pretend you didn't hear that. I have to have the window open because I was smudging, but it's happening. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and shuffle 3 more times, and we'll go ahead and see what's coming out. Thank you, angels. Thank you, God. Thank you, spirits. Thank you, Santa Muerte. Please give us a message for the collective. All right. I'm going to cut the deck, and I don't shuffle for jumpers. I'm bad at that, so maybe we'll get there eventually. But for right now, this is what we got. This is what I've been doing for 10 years, so it's hard to change. Okay. So the card is Compassion. This was the top card. This is the light aspect, or what you may be focusing on at this time. There's either an abundance of compassion around you. You feel like people are showing you a lot of compassion, or you're seeing people show compassion to others, or you feel a push to maybe be more compassionate. And it's going to be personal. I'm doing a general reading. It's not specific in that way, so just take it as it resonates for the whole reading. But yeah, compassion is a major theme that's on your mind or relevant in your current experience. Go ahead. I wish I could put them like somewhere you can see them. I guess this is fine. Maybe I'll have a better setup in the future. But you know what? I'm just rolling with what I got. Okay. So the next card that popped up is Perception. And I think that this image specifically is very interesting because, like, compassion is very like classic sacred geometry. You've got a little like flower of life-esque shape going on there. But the Perception card is very different, and it kind of reminds me of like a tortoise shell or like some kind of 90s. I don't know, it kind of reminds me of actually this scarf I have. It's a little similar. But yeah. Perception. Looks like the image is cast over a body of water. It's kind of hard to tell in the camera, but it's like a body of water, and then there's a light on the horizon where the focus is. And this is probably kind of like peripheral vision. But the frequency of perception supports our natural curiosity, moving us beyond our comfort zone to find the edges of what we perceive as real and to take a good, hard, deep look at it. So, I like to take this is the shadow aspect or something that maybe you aren't as aware of. So, with these cards working together, we're not smudging anymore. I'm going to shut the window. Okay. Hey. All right. So, with these two cards together, light aspect being compassion, shadow aspect being perception, it does kind of call to me in a way where maybe your perception of compassion is changing, or your perception of how you move through compassion or move through life compassionately is changing. And maybe you're softening with intention, or you're softening with discernment in a way that allows you to kind of alchemize feelings, alchemize lessons, and turn it into compassion. And you may have tried to rewrite the story of compassion in your life, or maybe while you're navigating compassion or thinking about compassion, there's a depth that can be reached by adjusting your perspective a little bit. Like your perception maybe could be broadened. And when it comes to compassion, being having a broader perspective really helps you channel compassion in a deeper, meaningful way, because there's background to it, there's context. The card numbers are 35 and 15, so fives could be significant. You could be 35 or 15, or those times could be significant when you were 15 or when you were 35. So maybe that has something to do with it. I obviously won't know, but apply it as you'd like. Just going to set those aside. Those are our two main energies we're going to be navigating. Kind of want to clarify those cards. So we're going to pull out the clarifying life situations and see what comes up. Okay. Two cards did kind of fly out when I shuffled. Hearing we should look at the top. Tide of transition. Okay, so Apparently, transition is a theme in this reading a little bit. It's popping up. Maybe you're shifting. I think you're shifting your relationship with compassion and changing your perspective. So, Tide of Transition says, embrace the tides of change with openness, allowing the ebb and flow of life to guide your transformation into love and work. There's like a couple, very cutesy. And the other one was small steps. So I think this is just like confirmation, if this is resonating for you, that the universe sees this flow, or there's a natural um, alignment happening where there's a transition in the energy of the planet or your specific region, where the energy is shifting or has shifted significantly. And I think this is just kind of like a little support or validation that while you're going through this transition, um, small steps are important and they're pivotal in your journey. So maybe you have an idea of how you want to move through life or how you want to approach this new change or shift in the energy, and maybe you're really excited about that. Like maybe you have a vision and you're feeling very motivated, but I'm also getting the feeling more so that there's like a little nervousness, or maybe imposter syndrome could be coming through, and you could have some doubts or some kind of mental pattern that had its place and it suited its purpose, it served its purpose before, but now small steps are just as important as the shift in the energy, and they're kind of the harbingers of that shift. So the small wins, the small triumphs, the everyday victories, celebrate them. They will take you there. So don't get so caught up in your mission that you forget that you're living. Yeah. Remember to have compassion for yourself. Um, it's very honorable that you're prioritizing compassion in your life right now, and that's beautiful. But if you focus on that, as you know, like just be worried that you could forget about yourself trying to remember others. And that was coming through earlier when I was journaling, is um, don't forget yourself trying to remember other people, or trying to remember um, your goals, or maybe a way that life used to be, or a way you life the way a way you want life to be, because you're in this moment right now, and that's really all we've got definitively, because the past, while it is fixed, we can't change the past. It I lost my train of thought a little bit. But yeah, like the past is fixed. The future is what you make of it, um, and how co-creation tra- transpires. But in this moment, it's very personal. It's yours, and it's yours to feel, yours to experience. And like I'm I'm not foreign to the idea that sometimes being in your body can be uncomfortable, but we're not getting any younger, and there is potential to achieve the things we want to achieve, but I've personally experienced this, and I know that if you're watching this, you probably have some kind of background with this feeling, but there are times where I look back in my life and maybe I was drinking more than I should, or maybe I was overindulging in things, or just kind of feeling stuck, even, or feeling a lack in my life. And when I look back at those times, kind of, I pretty much always feel like I wish I could take this brain in here right now and just plop it in that body. And I just wish that I could even just like have a conversation with a younger version of myself and be like, hey, you're gonna experience some crazy shit, but it's gonna be okay. And I always feel like I could have worried less. And like maybe I'm just a worrier, or I used to be a worrier, but at the end of the day, like, you can't go wrong with being alive and feeling alive. Like, you really just can't go wrong. I mean, maybe if your priorities are weird or your morals are jacked up, maybe feeling alive looks a little different to you. Or there are definitely people out there who feeling alive does not mean the same thing to them as it does to me or you. But with discernment in mind, feeling alive is making your inner child feel seen and cared for, making, like, just taking little steps. Okay, where did that card go? I still have it. Taking small steps to really just feel alive. And that's compassion. That is compassion for yourself. And currently in my day job, I'm a home care provider. And my biggest task is finding ways for my clients to feel alive with euphoria, or feel alive with a sense of hope. And I know that when circumstances don't necessarily align, um, in ways that aren't intuitively flowing, but feeling alive is your greatest weapon. Compassion for yourself is your greatest weapon. And I know, like, I'm personally not super into violence. I was raised with the mindset of sometimes violence is necessary, and I think self-defense is necessary, but violence should always be last resort. And there's I'm a big fan of there's always a way. And I think that there's always a way to navigate things without violence. And before people who are really into protests kind of click off with that and aren't hearing that, I do believe that there is a certain point where peaceful protesting or peace is just not attainable when it's requested, because it really should just be something that we can request, offer a solution, or offer some kind of blueprint for what compassion looks like in that sense, and then peace can be achieved. But and this goes for like interpersonal relationships as well. Like, when peace is just not coming, or there is no cohesion in an environment or relationship, I'm a big fan of kind of saying your piece and taking your piece and exiting out of there. But honestly, that's kind of our last resort for a global or for global issues, but also for just issues within the United States. We kind of just have to stop participating. And I know that there's a lot of like expectation that, or like just even stigma around um, certain groups or certain people. And it comes up a lot with issues regarding homelessness, where a lot of Americans are very nasty towards homeless people in a way that is dehumanizing and not compassionate at all. And usually the argument that comes up is like, well, I pay my taxes and they're not paying taxes, so they're not like participating, or they're not feeding into the system, or they're not, why should they be allowed to access resources if they're not putting resources in? And it's just like a very toxic mindset. And it's not something where I want to say like, oh, people who think like that are bad, or people who think like that have no compassion for anyone. But it is a point of contention where it's like, okay, our tax dollars in the US are not being spent wisely. So realistically, someone who's not participating, someone who's not paying their taxes, is doing you a favor. Because I mean, like if you want more money to go towards war crimes and weapons, then I mean, sure, everyone should pay their taxes, but with healthcare being the way that it is, and with community care being the way that it is, paying taxes, especially in the wealthiest country, or whatever you want to say, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And it takes small steps to get there. No amount of apathy or rigidity is going to solve those issues or create change in those aspects. Compassion for yourself and for other people, and meeting them where they're at. And if they can't meet you where you're at, then you have compassion, but you gotta go, or you gotta keep moving along, keep checking. Life does not stop. So, yeah. I think Tide of Transition is going to pair with perception. Or Tide of Transition actually should probably go with compassion, because they were both the light aspect. So Tide of Transition, compassion. Yeah, it's just like having compassion for the changes and for yourself as you're navigating new energies and new spheres, and just know that if things feel a little out of place, or it's your vision is not quite manifesting like in this moment, or you don't know how you're going to get there, it's all about the small steps and your perspective, your perception of what's valuable, what's compassionate, and where you can apply what you've learned. Okay, let's go ahead and get animal spirit. We'll see what animals come out for those two energies. Unfortunately, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like a little spider and a fly. I don't have a spider animal spirit card, and I really do like spiders. I'm one of those people where I don't kill spiders. If I freak out and I like brush it off of me and I hurt the spider, I'm gonna feel bad. So maybe that's coming through because you could be getting a call to show compassion towards beings with whom society says you shouldn't show compassion towards them, or like they're disposable. Um, that's not true. um, there was this man I met when I was living in Seattle a few years ago, and I remember just being really frustrated with certain things and certain people in my life at the time. And I was talking to this man, and he said, like, after I was done complaining and being annoying, he said, well, it takes all kinds to make a world. I don't know if you've heard that before, but honestly, when I heard that, I was just even more frustrated. It's like, okay, yeah, it takes all kinds, but like, could those other kinds like get it together? And that is not helpful. I mean, it's funny, it's like haha silly, but it really does take all kinds to make a world. And if we weren't challenged by people who make things a little more difficult, or if we weren't um, challenged to show compassion for creatures who aren't so cute and cuddly by societal standards and expectations, then are we really compassionate if we're not doing those things? And I just think generally, if you're wanting to branch out and be more compassionate, that's a good place to start, is just looking at beings and people who don't necessarily get allotted compassion by our society, and finding ways that you can be compassionate towards them, or like getting an opportunity to interact with different creatures like pigeons or rats, or just animals who are seen as burdens, and just seeing if you can look at it from a new perspective. Okay, let's go ahead and shuffle. We'll do two more. Oh. Well, there are two up. Honestly, a lot of them flew out, but we're just going to go with the two showing. I didn't mean for this video to be so long. I've honestly kind of just been vibing it out. I don't remember a lot of the stuff I even said at this point. But I'm checked in, I'm present, I promise. Okay. Okay. So we're going to take the turtle, the sea turtle, as the top card. This is the light aspect animal. You could be around turtles or have recently seen a turtle, or you may be seeing one in the near future. It could be relevant to this theme of compassion and perception. The theme of the card is protection. So the card says, you are master of finding life's flow. Be in harmony with the rhythm, and your path will unfold. Persevere, and you will succeed. You have everything you need to be protected and happy. So I think that really falls in alignment with this tide of transition and compassion. You have a pursuit that is coming from the heart at this moment, and you're protected in that pursuit. So if you have any doubts or questions about things, or if that imposter syndrome voice is coming through, then just know that you're on this journey for a reason. And even if it feels uncomfortable, like, you're going down the right path. Like, if you needed some kind of confirmation, like if you're moving in the right direction, like, this is a yes. So yeah, just keep that in mind if you see turtles, or if you're having those kind of negative voices coming through, like just know that it's nothing. You're onto it. And then the dark shadow aspect. This is a very light and lovey reading. Obviously, I've talked about some not so light and lovey things, but we're alchemizing. We're transmuting that energy and turning it into something useful and beneficial on a collective level. Inner knowing. The goose. It's so cute. So the goose is inner knowing, which is going with perception and small steps. So I think you know you're going in the right direction. You have an inner knowing that, like, even if this is like there's a goal, or maybe you don't even know what the goal is at this point in the journey, there's an inner knowing that you don't need to know. Or like there's an inner knowing that you have what you need and you're protected. And the card says, you are a brave traveler. Your soul knows the way. Be confident you will achieve your destination. Loyal friends are always with you. Don't worry, you are blessed. Let yourself fly. So, yeah, just more confirmation that you should be proud of yourself, or like just love on yourself a little bit because you deserve it. Okay, so those are our oracles. I wanted to do tarot, but honestly, like, this video is already so long, we're just not going to get into tarot on this one. But let's go ahead and pull some drag queen oracle just to close out for fun. If you're not queer or familiar with drag or ballroom culture, these might be very foreign concepts to you. So just take this as an opportunity to learn. I'll give some background knowledge or some advice of what you may want to research or dig deeper yourself if you feel called to do so. But if you are here for that, or you have that knowledge, then cool, these will make sense. And if they don't, I hope that you can make room for them to make sense. Or you can just kind of play with those aspects, or just, enjoy a reading. It doesn't have to be super pressed. We're doing this for fun. Let's go one more time. Oh, okay. Well, this card flew up. She was saying, pick me. She's not giving pick me, but she said pick me. Shade. Okay. So shade is coming through. It could be drawing on times where you didn't receive compassion, or maybe you felt like you could be more compassionate and priorities were just out of alignment. But it can also be fun and quirky. But honestly, like, it's catty. It's not compassionate. And so it's kind of drawing on, for me, like, there may be external influences or energies in your life that are maybe challenging your standard of compassion at this time. And those are opportunities for you to be an example of what real compassion is. I mean, sometimes I'm shady boots, but not like that. That's rude. But we're doing this for fun, so we're going to go ahead and see what else comes out. the activist was on the bottom of the deck. So this could be a call to just have a very real conversation with yourself, or just having some boundaries around activism, or spreading your message, or spreading your beliefs to others. This is something that I have been very passionate about in my life, where um, if I'm seeing a pattern, or I'm seeing unhealthy behaviors or energies in my own interpersonal relationships, or what I'm navigating, even in my professional world, I try to find ways to kind of inject a little bit of question into people, or like trying to draw some attention to alternative thought patterns that contradict what I've seen as problematic or unhealthy. And sometimes, especially when dealing with people who have very polarized, like, or opposing um, opinions to myself. So for me, like, very conservative viewpoints often kind of challenge me in a way. And in the past, I would be shady boots, and I would be, hey, this is ignorant, or whatever. And like, that can be true, but saying it isn't always the most helpful thing. And part of me does kind of like the covert attempt, or a covert approach of like, oh yeah, like totally, like the agreeing, the nodding, and then just kind of playing along to it in a way where you can kind of have a middle ground with those people on their terms, and just kind of questioning, well, if that's that way, then doesn't that mean this? And like, just kind of approaching it as if you're talking to a child a little bit. But at the same time, you could approach it from a place of like, you're naive to their perspective. You're not naive or ignorant to the harm, but maybe just their thought form doesn't make sense. So just having that openness to try and see things from their perspective without tainting your worldview, like holding firm and staying grounded in your beliefs. You can do both. And I think that's kind of the message that's coming through here, is like compassion, even for, I mean, they have this saying like, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And I've always thought that that was so annoying, because I'm just like, ugh, if they're an enemy, they could just get away. I'll get away. I'll go. Like, I'm good. But community is so important right now. And being able to find middle ground with people who maybe don't see life the same way as you, or like your experience just really contrast each other, like, that's still a gift. And like, being able to offer contrast to others and receive contrast from them in a way that doesn't threaten either party, or threaten your worldview. Like, challenging it is one thing, but like the threat of destabilizing that, or subtracting from your value because of those things, like, that's just not helpful. It's just not. And there have been many times, like, in my life, where people I've really cared about just didn't see things on a similar wavelength as me. And there are things where it's like, oh, well, I like ketchup on my scrambled eggs, but maybe my friend doesn't. Like, that's one thing. But not seeing eye to eye on specific topics, it gets muddy, and it gets hard to find that middle ground. But it's still possible. Sometimes we need to make momentary sacrifices for a greater good, and kind of reconvene and do some like aftercare on ourselves, to just kind of be like, wow, that was rough. Moving on. And I don't know, it's something that I've struggled with in life and recently come into a place where I feel pretty comfortable. Of course, I still get triggered. I'm a human being with a lot of experience in different spheres, but I don't know, just having that compassion for yourself and like having compassion for others mirrors the compassion you have for yourself, where you're giving yourself compassion by allowing yourself to have compassion for others. And it's just this beautiful flow that really goes both ways. Well, I think that's it, my friends. Thank you for giving me some time. If you stayed and watched the whole video, or if you jumped through and kind of intuitively let something come to you, either way, I'm happy that you decided to sit through this up late. And even though it was maybe a little hard to follow, I didn't have a super clear avenue. I hope you got something out of this reading. So, yeah. Bye for now.